Thank you, Madam Chair. The question I have for you is, and whoever can answer this, Australia's intelligence service recently intercepted a foreign interference plot, and the situation had become so grave that the Director General of Security, Mike Burgess, confirmed espionage and foreign interference on democracy with Australia have now supplanted terrorism as the nation's principal security concern. You're probably aware of that. He also expressed that Beijing used dating apps to mine confidential information from thousands of Australians with access to classified information. That's not me. That's you. It would be the equivalent here in Canada. So in response to Australia's new laws making it a crime to engage in covert, deceptive, or threatening conduct on behalf of a foreign government and so on, and we're trying to figure out here as parliamentarians what we should be doing. But it's really difficult to figure out what we should be doing if we actually don't know what's going on. And I can look up right now, I can read Bloomberg, various very credible news articles coming out of Australia where they say that they've intercepted people who are bankrolling money. We've had the same allegations here in Canada, yet nobody will say anything. If they're willing to do it in Australia, if Beijing's willing to do it in Australia, I don't know why they wouldn't be willing to try it in Canada as well. All I hear is media reports, but I can't seem to get a single official from the Government of Canada to confirm or deny that there is actually money that's being bankrolled. So I can look at the documents that you provided. I look at the cybersecurity threats against electoral infrastructure, it's fully redacted. Cybersecurity threats against political parties and government officials, fully redacted. Foreign interference that's politically motivated, fully redacted. Overt influence, fully redacted. Overall threat assessment, fully redacted. I look at the other sides of the pages here. Foreign interference for the public, fully redacted. I don't know what to communicate with my constituents. And it's a really awkward position to be in because I don't want to impugn anybody's reputation here. And that's not what my intent is. I actually believe that our government officials are doing the best that they can. I believe you're very, very, very good at monitoring. I'm not so sure because I haven't seen any results that tell me that we're good at interdicting or stopping. I've got no media reports. I've got no information that tells me that we've actually stopped anything. But I do have a former colleague that tells me very clearly that Beijing was interfering in his election. And at last meeting, the former ambassador to China said that just a threat to one riding alone undermines the integrity of our process. And I believe the bar that the government is now saying is the overall election result has to be the bar in order for us to become public with information, not just undermining the integrity of one electoral district. So I'm just wondering if you can give me some clarification because I'm very, very frustrated right now with the lack of information, the lack of transparency, and the responsibility of trying to figure out how to solve this problem as a policymaker and as somebody who votes on legislation. So what is the bar? Should the bar be interfering in a single election, in a single riding, or should it be for the entirety of the country? Should the presence of any money being discussed by a foreign actor then warrant public information? At what point does the public, because the public has to maintain confidence in our systems, in our institutions. And right now, I got to tell you, as somebody who represents the public, there is not a lot of public confidence in some of our public institutions right now. And I don't want to go down that road. I'm not trying to foment that feeling. I'm trying to protect our institutions. And I'm just frustrated. So can you clarify for me? Because going into an in-camera meeting doesn't seem to resolve any of the questions that I have. Are we or are we not? Has any election, has any candidate in this country been affected directly by foreign interference in the last two elections? For any party. We hear about 11 in Toronto. We hear about Kenny Chiu. Yes or no? Has the needle been moved in a single riding in either of the last two elections?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I'll take a stab at that. There was a lot in that question. So maybe just separating what occurs during an election and outside of an election, first of all, through the protocol and otherwise. You know, there are there's a policy in place and protocols in place during the election for very good reason, because we want to be careful that we're not interfering with the democratic process. So there are thresholds that need to be met there. It's not determined by the site task force, it's determined by the panel of 5 in terms of when something is publicly communicated. That's during an election period. Outside of an election period, as I've said, we are communicating more. I'll take the point, you can always do better, and I think certainly within the service, we're looking for opportunities to be communicating with Canadians and politicians in an unclassified setting. So certainly I think the effort is there. And like I said, you had a lot in your question, and I've forgotten what the rest of it was. So
It was a rant, but that's okay.
yeah.
Excellent.
Oh, well, and I would say as well. So we can't speak to specific riding, specific candidates. We don't look at our measure is not whether foreign influence activity has moved the needle. When we see foreign influence activity, that's enough for us. That engages our mandate. That engages an investigation. That brings advice and assessments to government. Whether it changes the course of an election or in a riding is not something we measure, and it's probably not something we could measure even if we wanted to, making that link between the two. But
Thank
certainly,
you.
certainly when
I
we
know. When the
see
beep,
it, we
beep, beep
report it.
happens, I have to end it, but I do want to make sure we get the valid information. Exciting news. It is a public meeting. You can go back, watch the game tape, and send us more fruitful answers. We always welcome them. Mr. Turnbull, up to 5 minutes.